Hello, my name's Geoff and I am a Gloucester Cathedral guide. Down in the crypt here, two important events happened during the Second World War. The first of these concerns the Great East Window, which, when it was installed in 1350, was the largest medieval stained glass window in the world. It's the size of a tennis court, and it contains thousands and thousands of pieces of medieval stained glass. Now, it was felt during the Second World War, as Gloucester had munitions factories and aircraft factories, that it was in grave danger of being bombed. And so very painstakingly, the Great East Window was taken down piece by piece, and half of it was stored in the crypt here where I am, and half was stored at a stately home, Musopen Park, in the Cotswolds. No one had any idea how long the war was going to last, and so it was just left here pending the end of the war. And in order to identify all the little pieces of stained glass, the 1940s equivalents of post-it notes were stuck on each piece. Well, it's pretty damp down here in the crypt, and guess what happens to post-it notes in damp places? They curl up and fall off. So come the end of the war, people came down to rescue the pieces from the Great East Window, and all the post-it notes had curled up and become detached from their piece of glass. And the only way they could get the Great East Window back to its full glory was someone found an old black and white postcard of the window, which they were able to zoom in on and very, very carefully identify each piece of stained glass. This exercise took 2 years to complete, and now visitors to the cathedral can see the Great East Window once again in its full glory. Now, the second story concerns Robert of Normandy, who is buried here in Gloucester Cathedral, and his effigy, his priceless 14th century effigy, is on the ambulatory going round to the Lady Chapel. And of course it was another item which was of peerless value, which was then brought down into the crypt for storage during the Second World War. Now, Robert, in his lifetime, he was the eldest son of William the Conqueror. When William the Conqueror died, Robert would have succeeded to the throne of England, but he was away at the Crusades at the time, and he was usurped by his younger brother William, who didn't reign very long because he was killed in a hunting accident. But before Robert could get back from the Crusades, he was usurped yet again by his youngest brother Henry. And Robert, when heard about this and came back, and was mightily miffed to hear that he, although he'd succeeded to the title of First Duke of Normandy, he was not King of England. He fell out big time with his brother Henry, and there was a major battle which Robert lost. There are no prizes for coming second in the Middle Ages, and Robert had, having lost to his brother Henry, was then incarcerated in Cardiff Castle, where he died as an old man in 1134. And his effigy, of course, he's now buried in Gloucester Cathedral, and his effigy is here. And he was brought down into the crypt during the Second World War, and at the same time a huge wooden crate arrived from London, which was also manhandled down the crypt steps and put into the crypt here where I'm standing. Inside the wooden crate was the coronation chair from Westminster Abbey, brought to Gloucester for safekeeping, and Robert was placed on top of it. So in the end, he did get to sit on the throne of England. We're now in a windowless room deep in the crypt, which, if I turn the lights off, which I'm not about to do, is pitch black down here. And when guides are taking people around, they come into here and I say, what do you think this room was for? And I suppose a small percentage of people get it right after several goes, but what it is actually, on my left here, is a place which is a mortuary. And this was a Benedictine monastery for 500 years, a long time, 500 years. And during that time, of course, monks were mortal like the rest of us, and they died. And when they died, their bodies were brought down here and laid out in this mortuary. And the stairs to my right, their colleague monks would come down here to pay their respects to the dead monk. 500 years of that particular pastime went on. But if I fast forward to the 21st century, I'd like you to imagine that I'm Benedict Cumberbatch for a moment. It's not a great leap of the imagination, I know, but the Christmas special edition of Sherlock was filmed in this very small space because it is so atmospheric.